Part 108. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1076. Whoosh. After locking onto Bai Ming's figure, Wang Ling sneered, and then moved across time and space with Xiao He, landing in front of Bai Ming on the island. For skills like temporal movement, there will be a stiff time after each movement. The length of this time is directly related to the soldier's level and physical strength. After stealing Wang Ling's achievements, Bai Ming's military level is not bad, and he is at the same 10-star military king level as Wang Ling. But in terms of physical strength, Bai Ming is far behind Wang Ling. One is only at the intermediate level of enhancement, while the other is already at the advanced level and even has the mutated gene of the wild beast king. Previously, it was only a small range of movement on the island, so there was not much difference. However, once the distance was extended, the gap became obvious. Wang Ling arrived after Bai Ming, but ended before Bai Ming. Stiff time. But he didn't take the opportunity to kill him. Instead, he looked at Bai Ming playfully, and when he ended his stiff time, he punched him away. Boom. In the real world, Wang Ling has never committed any crime, but towards Bai Ming, he really had murderous intentions. He did not hold back this punch. Even the intermediate level strengthened Bai Ming. With this punch, his face was dented by 1 centimeter, his cheekbones were shattered, and half of his teeth were knocked out. Bai Ming was already seriously injured, but this punch caused even more pain to the point that he almost collapsed. After landing, he covered half of his face and screamed and rolled around. Wang Ling was not in a hurry to get rid of him. Instead, he looked at him with interest and said mockingly, "No wonder you don't dare to inject high-level enhancements. You are too delicate. Are you afraid of pain? If I guessed correctly, primary enhancements and intermediate enhancements when it was strengthened, you were almost hurt to death, right?" Wang Ling. I don't know whether it was because of what Wang Ling said or because of the punch. After screaming, Bai Ming stood up with his bad body and yelled at Wang Ling, "Why are you so ghostly? Go away. I really regret that I didn't kill you right away, but that bastard traitor He Ming took advantage of me." You bastard traitor. This comment about Uncle He touched Wang Ling's sensitive nerves. His face darkened immediately, and he reached out and took out his rifle. "How dare you say that to Uncle He? You are looking for death." Whoosh. However, Bai Ming had no intention of fighting now and only wanted to escape. When he saw Wang Ling pulling out his gun, he didn't care to scream anymore. He endured the injuries all over his body and directly launched the time travel movement and left the island. And Wang Ling was not worried at all that he could escape. After he left the island, the electronic map in his subconscious automatically marked Bai Ming's location, and it actually landed on a large piece of land not far to the east of the American continent. On the reef. Whoosh. Wang Ling was not slow. He found the target and moved towards it. He ended his stiffness before Bai Ming and shot it out without ceremony. However, this shot did not kill Bai Ming. It only penetrated both of his arms. It would take some time to recover from this injury with an intermediate level strengthened body. When the stiffness time was over, Bai Ming couldn't help but scream under the severe pain. While screaming, he also threatened, "Wang Ling, just wait, I won't let you go." "How dare you threaten me? Who is refusing to let go of whom now?" Wang Ling laughed sarcastically, raised his gun and pointed it at Bai Ming. Whoosh. And Bai Ming followed the same old routine and continued to run away. But this time, he jumped directly into America and landed in a large city. It is still dark in the United States today. Due to various indescribable reasons, the night here is very unsafe and there are very few people on the streets. However, there are still some. Bai Ming suddenly moved across time and space in front of these people, which really shocked them. In order to run away, Bai Ming couldn't care about anything else now, and even thought of using this method to restrain Wang Ling by relying on his fear of being exposed. Indeed, this mentality also caught him. Wang Ling did not dare to expose it, otherwise it would be too much trouble. He did not expect that Bai Ming would use this trick. After locking Bai Ming's position on the electronic map, he gritted his teeth in anger. But forget it. Impossible. Bai Ming is a man who must be killed. No matter where he hides, Wang Ling will not let him go. After squinting his eyes and thinking for a while, Wang Ling had an idea and disappeared with a whoosh. However, he did not appear directly in front of Bai Ming and the outsiders. Instead, he landed on the most secluded high-rise building around him. After the stiff time was over, he directly released enough mental power to cover a 1-kilometer radius, and performed hypnosis on a large area. Technique: all people in this area, no matter what incredible things they see, must treat them as normal people and things. In addition, Wang Ling even released shockwaves specifically to blow up all the cameras within a radius of 500 meters to prevent him from being photographed. As for Bai Ming, it doesn't matter whether the dying person is exposed or not. After being hypnotized by spiritual power, the locals who had witnessed Bai Ming's appearance finally lost their fear and started to have fun. Some even commented on Bai Ming. Whoosh. Da-da. After all preparations were completed, Wang Ling landed in front of Bai Ming. Now that Bai Ming was still in a frozen state, Wang Ling took this opportunity to fire 2 shots, destroying both of his arms, and then put the rifle on his shoulders, giving him a sense of familiarity. Ah! Wang Ling, why are you like a dogskin plaster? You can't get rid of it no matter how you do it. After the stiffness period ended, Bai Ming screamed in pain again, as expected. Whoosh. Now, it could be said that he hated Wang Ling to the core, but at the same time, he was also scared. He screamed for a while, and ran away without waiting for Wang Ling to respond or raise his gun. Whoosh. But Wang Ling is like a tarsal maggot. Wherever he goes, he will wait there before the end of his stiffness time, and casually shoot 2 bullets, destroying his arms and legs, and even injuring his chest, abdomen, and even hands were also placed on both legs. It can be said that this is the first time Wang Ling has faced an enemy in such a brutal way since he gained strong combat power. However, Wang Ling had no intention of being soft-hearted at all. This guy who kept claiming to be a god not only wanted to enslave the entire world, he even killed teacher Li Dong in front of Wang Ling, and even forced Uncle He to self-destruct his program. The hatred that destroyed the group of old comrades in Red Alert World was enough to destroy all kindness and mercy. Bai Ming was naturally not willing to be treated like this, but he had no choice. He could not return to the 4-dimensional space, and his time and space abilities had been lost. Now he could only use time and space movement. Although he was caught in advance by Wang Ling every time, but he still ran around without giving up. After the United States, Bai Ming ran to several islands, one of which was still a tourist resort. However, he was caught by Wang Ling and treated with a gun. Finally, Bai Ming fled to China in embarrassment and landed on the busiest street in the capital. The way he appeared immediately frightened a group of people. But Wang Ling didn't care about the extent of the impact. He still used hypnosis to open the way. After eliminating hidden dangers, he fell in front of Bai Ming. But this time, Wang Ling did not shoot in advance. Instead, he stepped on Bai Ming's foot on the ground and pointed the gun at his head. Bai Ming, the majestic god, was driven away like a lost dog. Where has the majesty of your god gone after all this time? Although he was in a frozen state, Bai Ming was still aware of everything around him. After the stiff time, Bai Ming faced the cold muzzle, took 2 deep breaths, and finally stopped running away. Instead he laughed wildly. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1077. What are you laughing at? Wang Ling frowned, always feeling that something was wrong with this guy. Bai Ming seemed to be willing to take the risk, and shouted loudly, "Wang Ling! You inferior creature, don't underestimate the methods of the gods. I fell into your hands today, and it seems that I won't survive, but if you kill me, you won't be able to bear the consequences." "Oh? What are the consequences? Could it be that a creature in your four-dimensional space would take revenge on the entire world for you?" Wang Ling asked with interest. Bai Ming stared at Wang Ling with an exaggerated expression. "The organization is not that idle. They have to resist other opposition forces, and I am not qualified to ask the organization to help me. I am talking about the forces in your world." "Ha ha ha, Wang Ling, when you were growing up, did you think I was just idle? I have secretly explored all the underground forces in the world. I originally thought that after controlling you, I would recruit them as helpers, but now I can't wait until that time. With 1/10,000th of caution, I tied my life to these underground forces and even the armies of all countries around the world. Once something happens to me, things in the other dimensional system will be affected. It will be automatically sent to these forces. Ha ha ha, Wang Ling, shoot, I want to see if you still have the guts now. You are such a madman." To be honest, Wang Ling really wanted to kill Bai Ming with one shot, but Bai Ming's crazy approach also made Wang Ling avoid killing him directly. What is the most dangerous thing in the world? The answers vary, but the human heart is definitely an important option. Greed and desire are endless, including Bai Ming in the four-dimensional space and the organization behind him, all have a strong desire to rule, let alone people in the three-dimensional space. Wang Ling knows very well the allure of the different dimensional system. Once the existence of this thing is exposed, it will definitely cause huge waves around the world. Although Uncle He has left and the system has been destroyed, after being exposed, who will believe those who are tempted to lose their minds by the other dimensional system? Wang Ling had tried every means to keep a low profile before, even using hypnosis to open the way when chasing Bai Ming. Wasn't it because he didn't want to be exposed? Bai Ming was so good that he took the initiative to bind all the armed forces in the world, and once he died, the news would be exposed automatically. If you don't kill him, there will be endless dangers, but if you kill him, the trouble will be so great that it is difficult for Wang Ling to face it. This is really a dilemma. Ha ha ha, Wang Ling, shoot. Don't you dare. Seemingly grasping Wang Ling's mentality, Bai Ming's expression gradually became arrogant. "Did that bastard He Ming mark me so that you could find me so quickly? Okay, okay. This traitor did it. This is really amazing. Wang Ling, kill me and you can taste the feeling of being tracked around the world. You have also been marked by me. Once I die, your location information will also be sent to all armed forces. You are powerful, even if you can move across time and space, even if you run to the ends of the earth, you will still be caught up. Ha 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 ha. Asshole. Snapped. Snapped. Wang Ling was so angry that he gritted his teeth, but he didn't dare to shoot directly. He waved his hand and slapped him twice, drawing blood from Bai Ming's face. Having been humiliated by Wang Ling before, Bai Ming prided himself on being a god and probably couldn't bear it for a long time. But now Bai Ming is like a piece of meat on a hob, covered in wounds. He no longer cares about these two slaps. Lying on the ground, he laughed wildly. Ha ha ha, yes, yes, that's it. Be confused, be upset. Do you want to kill me? Do you want to kill me? Ha 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 ha. Hateful. Wang Ling really wanted to shoot him now. The finger on the trigger was trembling, as if he might shoot if he wasn't careful. However, Wang Ling was really unable to bear the consequences of shooting, and it was absolutely impossible not to kill him. What to do? What to do? What to do? The big question marks lingering in his mind really made Wang Ling very depressed. Correct. After being depressed for a while, Wang Ling suddenly had an idea in his mind and thought of a superdimensional light wave attack. This kind of attack will not kill Bai Ming directly, but will force him to a strange space to fend for himself. Send him there. After his death, it shouldn't trigger the message, he said, right? Buzz. But unexpectedly, as soon as he thought of this, Bai Ming had already taken action in advance. A smaller version of the Time-Space Legion weapon appeared in his crippled hand and secretly fired it at Wang Ling to control him. Ha ha ha, Wang Ling, with your determination, you still want to resist the gods. Go to another world and reflect. Although Wang Ling's body was strong enough, Bai Ming's Chronospace Legion troops were at the King of Soldiers level after all. Not long after he finished cursing, Wang Ling had been forcibly erased, leaving only a trace of chronospace fluctuations. Without Wang Ling, the originally pervasive mental power also dissipated, and the hypnosis ended. The people around him were shocked again when they saw Bai Ming's state. Some ladies even screamed, and the scene was quite chaotic. But Bai Ming didn't care about this. Seeing that Wang Ling had been tricked, a look of ecstasy suddenly appeared on his face. Ha 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 ha. Wang Ling, you are like this, and you still want to resist me. However, less than 2 seconds after he finished speaking, another trace of time-space fluctuation appeared in the same place, and Wang Ling actually jumped back from another world. Buzz. The first thing he did after returning was to rehypnotize himself and stabilize the rioting crowd around him. Then he stepped on Bai Ming's body again and put the muzzle of the gun between his eyebrows. It seems that Uncle He didn't follow you. I have reported on my specific battle situation in the Red Alert world. In another world, I can return on my own. The attack of the Chrono Legion soldiers is meaningless to me. But you also reminded me that since the Chrono Light Wave is harmful to me if it doesn't work, I'm afraid you can return on your own, right? I almost made such a big mistake. It seems that keeping you here will always be a disaster, so I'd better ask you to die. No. Wang Ling, aren't you afraid of being wanted globally? Boom. After feeling Wang Ling's true murderous intention, Bai Ming finally became afraid, but before he could finish his words, Wang Ling had already pulled the trigger and shot Bai Ming through the head. Although Bai Ming had received intermediate enhancements, such fatal injuries to his head were irreparable. With one shot, Bai Ming could be said to be completely dead. Buzz. Bai Ming's previous words did not bother Wang Ling. As Bai Ming died, a massive amount of data information visible to the naked eye suddenly filled his body, flying in all directions and disappearing in the blink of an eye. With the disappearance of this data information, I am afraid that all armed forces and troops around the world have received news of the extra-dimensional system and Wang Ling's location at the same time. Things like extra-dimensional systems are extremely tempting, but because many technologies are far beyond the understanding of modern people, it is also a problem to believe in the existence of extra-dimensional systems. Of course, since Bai Ming is willing to send these messages, the messages must contain enough evidence to prove the authenticity of the system, which will always convince them. Bai Ming was shot and killed, but Wang Ling has now become the #1 dangerous person in the world. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1078. Hoo. After killing Bai Ming with his own hands, Wang Ling finally relieved a huge burden from his heart. His body immediately relaxed and he sat on the ground. The rifle in his hand also turned into reality until it disappeared. On this most prosperous street, there are many pedestrians around, but under the hypnosis, people come and go, but no one knows that a change that can affect the world's situation has happened here. As the core figure in the storm of change, Wang Ling sat on the ground, looking quite helpless. He looked at Bai Ming's body for a long time, then looked at his hands, filled with fear and confusion about the future. His hands were filled with blood, including Bai Ming's and his own. The scarlet color was really dazzling. Well. After sitting for a few minutes, Wang Ling sighed, shook his body, and slowly stood up. Bai Ming's death is not the end. The news spread around the world has replaced Bai Ming as the source of trouble that Wang Ling is most worried about right now. However, after all, the existence of the extra-dimensional system is too outrageous. Even if Bai Ming's information is enough to confirm the authenticity of the system and drive all the armed forces around the world crazy, the initial acceptance period will definitely take some time. After all, no matter which force receives such information, their first reaction will probably be that it is a prank. Of course, how long this time will last is directly related to the acceptance and understanding ability of all forces. Wang Ling cannot guarantee how long it will be. Taking advantage of this time, he can finally do something. In the battle with teacher Li Dong and Bai Ming, Wang Ling was injured countless times. Although his injuries have healed now, his clothes are in tatters. Wang Ling did not give in. Instead, he went to a nearby store and replaced himself with a new set. Code. Fortunately, the phone was not damaged during the war and can still be paid for. Later, Wang Ling also purchased a separate backpack, went to the bank, and withdrew 200,000 yuan in cash. What is this cash used for? Naturally, it is used abroad. As Bai Ming's news came out, Wang Ling was also positioned globally, and those who were tempted by the system to lose their minds would sooner or later target Wang Ling. Wherever he was, there would be turmoil. As emotional as he is, he doesn't want to leave this turmoil in China. After going abroad, except for the life of primitive people, I am afraid that money will be indispensable everywhere. Whoosh! Wang Ling moved through time and space and arrived at the roof of a nearby tall building. Wang Ling was carrying a backpack full of cash and looked back at the bustling city. His face showed no expression, but his eyes were slightly red. Farewell, after all, I still couldn't bear it. Whoosh! But no matter how reluctant he was to leave, he couldn't stay. After wiping his nose, Wang Ling launched another time travel movement and landed on the Wild Valley Island in the center of the Atlantic Ocean. After successive battles, this island was now full of traces of dilapidation. Wang Ling did not pay much attention to these traces. Instead, he walked straight through and came to the body of teacher Li Dong. Teacher, fortunately, I have fulfilled your expectations. But now I am very scared. I don't know what I should do. Where should I go? The world is so big, where is safe? Looking at the corpse, Wang Ling murmured, as if talking to teacher Li Dong, but more like talking to himself. In confusion, Wang Ling took out his mobile phone and thought of those bad friends, as well as his parents and relatives. He really wanted to go back and take a look, but for fear of bringing disaster there, he could only resist the idea. After a little struggle, I didn't even want to make another phone call. Wang Ling can't see what the future holds now. There is really no need for his relatives and friends to worry about him. I don't know, what are they doing now? Have they missed me? Haha, positioning me as a member of the global armed forces and troops. Actually, if you think about it, it's not a bad thing in this regard. At least there won't be any extreme people kidnapping my relatives and friends. Come and force me to show up despite the hardship. Mr. Wang Ling still found a reason to comfort himself. Nowadays, Wang Ling's parents don't know about Wang Ling's affairs and are still busy working on their own. However, the three bad friends, uncharacteristically, stopped playing games. Instead, they all sat on the bed in a daze. They probably knew some of Wang Ling's secrets and knew that Wang Ling might be in danger when he went out this time. All three of them were worried and waiting for Wang Ling's return. However, Wang Ling really couldn't go back. Alas, Wang Ling couldn't help but sigh when he thought about his fate. Now, unable to return to his home, Wang Ling felt particularly lonely on this deserted island, guarding the body of teacher Li Dong. On weekdays, when he is lonely, he can still go to the red alert world and have fun with his comrades. But now, the system is damaged, and those comrades have left him. Woof woof, just as he was feeling sad, Xiao He barked twice next to him, attracting Wang Ling's attention. He stepped forward and touched Xiao He's head. Xiao He. Fortunately, I still have you. And Xiao He kept rubbing Wang Ling's face, comforting him in this simple way. After the two of them warmed each other for a while, Wang Ling looked at teacher Li Dong's body again. Leaving it like this was not a problem after all, but I didn't know where teacher Li Dong's hometown was, so I simply dug a big hole on the spot and buried it. Gilug. After doing this, Wang Ling's stomach felt unsatisfactory, and Xiao He also said that he was hungry. There was no way. Although fishing could be done on this deserted island, Wang Ling had no tools and was not good at it. He simply gritted his teeth and took Xiao He to the United States. He found Chinatown and landed in a noodle shop. Fortunately, the system's information was only transmitted to major organizations and military forces around the world, and civilians did not know about it. The owner of the noodle shop even felt a sense of intimacy when he saw Wang Ling take out Chinese coins. Free of charge, Wang Ling was given some desserts as a gift. Wang Ling also sincerely thanked him for this. However, while eating noodles with Xiao He, Wang Ling suddenly heard a gunshot in the distance, and then subconsciously moved his head back a few inches. As a result, a bullet penetrated the glass and happened to be close to Wang Ling's head. Nose flashed. Who? Wang Ling was annoyed and looked in the direction of the bullet marks, only to see a hiding sniper on a tall building in the distance preparing a second bullet. Damn it, are there underground organizations here? And you believed Bai Ming's news so quickly and attacked me. Wang Ling didn't understand what was going on. He's here. The system is on him. Whether it's true or not, let's catch him first. Kill him if he resists. Sure enough, before the sniper fired the second bullet, a group of people with different skin colors emerged outside the street, led by several tattooed and bare-chested Chinese, and even carrying pistols and machetes in their hands. Emotional people have not yet determined whether the news is true or false. They just saw Wang Ling suddenly coming here from the bound position, and with the mentality that they would rather kill by mistake than let it go, they took action in advance. Young man, who are you? How did you provoke them? This attitude naturally frightened the noodle shop owner. He was afraid that Wang Ling would bring disaster to him, so he felt that he could not avoid him. Wang Ling gritted his teeth and did not blame the boss. He just clenched his fists and broke out of the noodle shop with Xiao He. It is impossible to escape the global organization by always running away. At this moment, Wang Ling chose to fight back. With his current fighting power, he was able to deal with a group of local organizations easily. Together with Xiao He, he knocked everyone unconscious in just more than 10 seconds. Even the second bullet of the sniper hiding on the high building was hit by. He dodged and blasted it with a long-range shockwave, knocking it out. The battle started suddenly and ended hastily. Before everyone around them understood what was going on, Wang Ling had already returned to the noodle shop. You, who are you? This is a small shop, I can't stand the trouble. The noodle shop owner was frightened. However, Wang Ling calmly walked to his original seat and continued to eat noodles, saying at the same time, I just want to have a meal in peace. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1079. Is it so difficult to just have a meal in peace? Wang Ling's answer also confused the noodle shop owner. You're just here for a meal, why do they want to kill you? However, Wang Ling didn't want to answer this question. He just took the time to eat the remaining noodles. Xiao He was also devouring it. During this process, the noodle shop owner didn't dare to move forward. The distance he deliberately kept away from was like an unbridgeable gap. After learning this lesson, Wang Ling also became cautious. While eating, he released a wide range of spiritual power to detect everything around him. After he finished his last sip of noodle soup, another group of gunmen broke in outside the detection range. Did 2 waves of underground organizations come in just one meal? This is just an inconspicuous China street. Wang Ling felt a little sour and angry at the same time, but after wiping the noodles from the corner of his mouth, however, he did not embarrass the owner of the noodle shop. He used time travel in front of everyone and left here. Not surprisingly, both the noodle shop owner and other fearful diners were frightened by Wang Ling's move, and almost everyone was stunned. Now, Bai Ming has exposed the system's information to the whole world, and Wang Ling has become the target of public criticism. Under this situation, it is meaningless for him to continue to hide various abilities. During this time travel movement, Wang Ling landed on top of a hotel in a European country. After the stiffness was over, he relied on his mental strength to sneak into an unopened guest room, shared a bed with Xiao He, and fell asleep. After fighting for a long time and suffering from strong psychological pressure, Wang Ling was really trapped now. Woof. Woof woof. However, this sleep, he did not sleep peacefully. Just 2 or 3 hours later, Xiao He suddenly started screaming wildly. After being awakened, Wang Ling immediately released his mental power and explored the surroundings. He found that a group of men in black had sneaked into the hotel and arrived at his floor. The 2 men in front even took out their firearms and hurried to the hotel. Wang Ling's room. Damn it, I'm not even allowed to sleep. Wang Ling was extremely impatient. After putting on his clothes hastily, the door was kicked open. Whoosh. Wang Ling didn't want to tangle with them at all. When the gun was pointed at him and before firing, he took Xiao He and traveled to other countries through time and space together. As for this group of people, they are indeed the local underground forces. Not long after receiving the news, they were still in the suspicion stage, but tonight they saw Wang Ling's movement through time and space with their own eyes. After a period of shock, they became ecstatic. This news seems to be true. All over the world, major forces are distributed in many places, including those on the surface and those underground. On this continent, most of the underground forces are even grouped together and distributed everywhere. This group of people has seen with their own eyes. Wang Ling's skills made him so ecstatic that he quickly spread the news to the entire organization. As a result, this brought a lot of trouble to Wang Ling. When he moved to the next country, he was already locked in without even having time to rest. Within a moment, all the people from the nearby forces began to move towards Wang Ling. Ling gathered. As a last resort, Wang Ling could only continue to move. However, with the successive transfers, the same encounter was almost repeated. These people were even so crazy that they would not hesitate to create chaos in the crowd and track Wang Ling. The temptation of his system was so great that they almost lost their minds. However, Wang Ling's spiritual power spread out and he could always escape these pursuits in time and continue to shift positions. After several transfers, he finally encountered a relatively peaceful place. However, this is only in relative terms. Wang Ling managed to eat something here and rested for less than half a day. A new underground organization came to visit him and even fought with Wang Ling. In the end, they were all killed by Wang Ling. He and Xiao He were knocked unconscious and thrown into police station C. This continuous transfer lasted for more than a day, but he did not encounter a truly safe place. As a last resort, Wang Ling could only expand his target and move to the African continent. The organization that was madly chasing Wang Ling did not reach out here, and because of the vast territory, it was difficult for ordinary forces to find Wang Ling in time. Wang Ling was temporarily stable here. However, less than 2 days later, he was targeted by several mercenary organizations. A large number of armed men pursued him with a target, forcing Wang Ling to constantly shift positions. But within a week, he visited almost every country on this continent, but was hunted down by these forces all, and had no choice but to move to the North Asian Mao country. But is it safe here? The answer is no here. Just over a day passed, and the same underground forces focused on him. They chased him away and moved him to Oceania, with the same result. Bai Ming had tricked Wang Ling quite hard this time. Wang Ling could not find or remove the mark on him. Even if he hid to the ends of the earth, it would not help at all. The forces that are currently dispatched to pursue Wang Ling are all underground forces. For the time being, no troops from all over the world are acting openly. They are also restricting each other and watching each other. But this situation will not last forever. There will always be a country with overwhelming ambitions that takes the lead. By then, Wang Ling's situation will be even more dangerous. Enough. Enough. I've had enough of this kind of life. Finally, after traveling almost all over the world without finding a safe place, Wang Ling's spirit almost reached the edge of collapse. In the red alert world, Wang Ling killed countless enemies, but in the real world, Wang Ling only killed Bai Ming. And the killing this time was to stop Bai Ming's desire to rule. According to Bai Ming's God thinking, the entire world is an inferior creature to him. Once he takes control, it is difficult to predict what the world will become. It can be said that by killing Bai Ming, Wang Ling directly protected the whole world. But the irony is, how many people in the world know this? Not only did he not know it, but there were too many organizations and even armies that were already eyeing Wang Ling and the damaged system in his hands, forcing him to have nowhere to escape. This funny reality also made Wang Ling's heart sway, and the faith he originally insisted on began to waver. Whoosh! Finally, Wang Ling bought food in some places for a while and returned to the Wild Valley Island in the Atlantic Ocean again. This is where the fateful battle begins, so let everything end here. Returning to the island this time, Wang Ling never thought about escaping. Instead, he and Xiao He stayed by the grave of teacher Li Dong, observing the global electronic map while waiting. After all, he is on an island in the sea. The forces that were hunting Wang Ling in various countries were unable to reach him for a while, but another force, such as pirates, was eyeing Wang Ling. The sea was their unbridled territory, and almost all pirate forces around the world had Wang Ling's location information. As a result, Wang Ling only stayed on the island for a day or so, and there were already pirate forces nearby. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1080. At hashtag Yuan. /U0026% Yuan asterisk. Dot. There were 2 pirate ships that appeared around the island this time. The crews were hiding inside and chattering weird words. I don't know if the 2 ships belonged to the same force, but this time their goals were very unified, and they were all aiming at to the Wild Valley Island where Wang Ling was. Whoosh! Are you looking for me? A few days ago, Wang Ling fled around the world without killing anyone, but now Wang Ling has had enough of that kind of life and has gradually become darker. This time when facing the pirate forces, he changed his previous conservative approach, and after detecting it, he took the initiative and moved to the pirate ship through time and space. That cold question immediately frightened the pirates on the ship into panic, and they were shouting in foreign languages without knowing what they were saying. Amid the shouting, 5 people directly raised their rifles and pointed them at Wang Ling, looking as if they might fire at any time. Buzz. Ah! However, due to the language barrier, Wang Ling didn't even bother to talk nonsense to them. A shock wave was released, and all the crew members on the entire pirate ship were shattered in an instant. A whole ship of pirates, attacked by him alone, had no time to fight back. Yuan hashtag at asterisk /U0026%. Chug. Chug. Da da da. The great changes in this pirate ship also scared the people on the other pirate ship. As a burst of shouting came out, more than 10 people opened fire directly. Ah! but what responded to them was an extremely strong electromagnetic current, which attacked everyone on the ship in a matter of seconds, killing them all in just 2 seconds. However, this electromagnetic current still did not stop. Instead, it continued to output until it sunk the entire ship. Boom! 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 Wow! Later, Wang Ling bombarded the pirate ship he was on, completely sinking it, and then moved through time and space and returned to Yevali Island. Looking at the two rapidly sinking broken ships, Wang Ling's expression was very cold. This is it. Anyone who dares to target me and wants to hunt me, just come. These two pirate ships were already the signal for Wang Ling to start counterattack. He had had enough of the old way of living like a rat crossing the street. If there is no peaceful land in this world, then the whole world will be overturned. When the interdimensional system still existed, Wang Ling summoned all the forces. That kind of power could indeed subvert the entire world in a short period of time. Although the system is now destroyed, and all those comrades and armored units have disappeared, Wang Ling who is left behind is the one with the strongest combat effectiveness among all the units. How can it be compared to ordinary forces in the real world? However, Bai Ming's news did not mention much about Wang Ling's combat prowess. He even only marked Wang Ling's location, but did not show the forces he killed. As a result, two pirate ships sank to the bottom of the sea, and other forces the pirates did not realize what happened here. Now those pirates whose eyes were red after being tempted have already rushed here in large numbers. Wang Ling observed this scene, but just sneered, and did not think about escaping again. As a result, the pirate ships that arrived near the island one after another were all met with Wang Ling's devastating attack. Dozens of pirate ships of different sizes. The scenes of sinking the ship here were really extremely tragic. However, even so, it was difficult to dispel the greed of the world. Pirate ships from all over the world's sea areas were still rushing toward them like moths to the flame. As a result, within a week, Wang Ling killed dozens of pirate ships one after another. The sunken ships were stacked together and protruded out of the sea, forming a barrier of islands. It was shocking to see. When the pirates who came later saw this scene, they were all frightened. Their red greedy hearts rarely calmed down a little. They hid outside the island and watched from a distance, and did not dare to attack again for a while. As time passed, a large number of pirate ships gathered here. Buzz buzz. After deterring the group of pirates on the sea, there was unrest in the air. 3 helicopters came side by side and hovered over the island. Their pilots were still shouting in foreign languages, and even had a special translator. Hand over the system. That's not what you're qualified to have. Haha, finally you can't hold it any longer. But Wang Ling stared at the 3 helicopters and sneered again and again. Although he has never been a soldier in reality, he has experienced too many real battles in the Red Alert world and is very familiar with the momentum of soldiers. Although there are no national flags or even power symbols on these 3 helicopters, both pilots and translators are all soldiers. I don't know which country was the first to be unable to bear it. While other countries were still waiting and watching, they concealed their identity and took action in advance in this way. In fact, there are not only these 3 helicopters, but also the previous pirate ships. Although there are many pirates from all over the world, how could they gather so many in such a short period of time? Who can tell how many hidden forces or even troops there are pretending to be pirates to hunt down Wang Ling? Wang Ling was not stupid. Of course he knew this, but he did not point it out and treated them all as pirates. But now these 3 helicopters are too anxious, and their behavior is almost as short as directly revealing their identities. Hand over the system within 10 seconds, otherwise you will face coverage bombing. While Wang Ling was sneering, the translator also began to issue ultimatums. But Wang Ling asked, "Can you hold on for 10 seconds? Boom boom boom." After saying that, he directly shouldered the anti-aircraft gun and bombarded it fiercely with the rate of fire of a military king. The power of anti-aircraft guns in reality is very different from that in the game. In the game, it may take some time for Wang Ling to bombard 3 helicopters, but in reality, it only took less than 2 seconds to face these 3 helicopters and shoot it down. Since they were disguised as unknown forces and concealed their identities, there was certainly no need for Wang Ling to hold back on them. Boom! 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 3 consecutive falling explosions were heard, and the pirates gathered around were also startled. Some people who could not bear it were forced to calm down. Although the system is extremely tempting, the person who holds the system is too strong. A group of people faced him alone, but they did not dare to attack again. However, too much time has passed since the news was received. All the forces in the world, large and small, have confirmed the authenticity of the news. The system is so outrageous that it is enough to make the whole world crazy. On a global scale, various forces are still gathering together, but after arriving at the scene, let alone not daring to attack, they can no longer cross the circle of pirate ship wreckage piled up on the periphery. In the end, the maritime forces on the periphery are beyond accumulate more. Looking at these gathering forces, Wang Ling looked extremely cold. After waiting for a long time, no force took the lead. He even provoked him in turn, aren't they all interested in the system? Since they are interested in it, then don't be afraid, come and get it. The surrounding forces didn't know if they understood the sentence. After the provocation, no one responded. Buzz buzz. Buzz buzz. However, just when Wang Ling was bored, a large number of helicopters appeared on the horizon. The first one even had the American flag printed on it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1081. There are more than 50 helicopters in this batch, most of which are armed helicopters. Although the leader is the army of Country M, it is actually not the only army of this force. There are even forces such as Country W and Country Y behind them. Follow along. After waiting and watching for so long, is it finally here? Looking at these helicopters, Wang Ling narrowed his eyes, and there was a little struggle in his cold eyes. Even though Wang Ling has begun to turn dark, he actually maintains some sanity. He has been merciless when facing maritime forces before. In the final analysis, it is because these forces are all shady and illegal forces, and they belong to the world. He cleaned up the cancer without any psychological burden at all. However, these helicopters are different now. These are all frontal armed forces. Indeed, with Wang Ling's strength, it is not difficult to deal with these helicopters, but once they fire, it is equivalent to completely embarking on a path of no return and becoming the enemy of the entire world. What is the difference between this approach and the world under Bai Ming's rule, and between the world under Bai Ming's control and myself? Buzz buzz. Buzz buzz. While Wang Ling was struggling, a large number of helicopters had already flown over the island, forming several rows and looking down at Wang Ling. Immediately afterwards, the helicopter headed by Country M began to shout down, and then a translator shouted, "Raise your hands, don't make unnecessary resistance. Give up resistance. Is it possible?" Although Wang Ling was struggling, it would be too much to ask him to just give up resistance. He looked at the helicopter in front of him coldly and asked calmly, "Are you also here for the different dimensional system?" His voice was not loud, but the sound wave seemed to have a little bit of magic power. It actually penetrated the noise of more than 50 helicopters and was transmitted to all the helicopters. Although this was indeed their purpose, due to their hypocritical mentality, no one answered anything for a while, as if they were still thinking about pretending. After being silent for more than 10 seconds, the officer shouted again, and then translated, "The different dimensional system is a very dangerous thing. This world does not allow its existence. Hand over the system and give up resistance." Wang Lingling was delighted. "Really? It sounds nice, but why do I think that after you take the system in your hands, you will use it on yourself? The allure of the system is self-evident. The purpose of these troops coming here can be said to be very clear, but they use such grand words as a fig leaf." But Wang Ling just couldn't stand this kind of hypocrisy. In one sentence, he ripped off the fig leaf and made many people on the helicopter blush. In the end, another officer also started shouting, and then translated, "You don't need to worry about how we deal with the different dimensional system. You just need to hand over the system and give up resistance." Haha, Wang Ling smiled with amusement. He took off the system's bracelet, raised it high, and shouted at the same time, "The artificial intelligence brain of the different dimensional system has been sacrificed, and the system has become an empty shell. Even if you take it, it's useless." Click. As he spoke, he even gave the bracelet a firm squeeze and crushed it to pieces. Since Uncle He is gone, leaving this bracelet has no meaning for Wang Ling. The news he broke and his exaggerated actions really shocked the people on the helicopter. Wang Ling even heard the words "what" and "nanny." Not only the people on the helicopter, but also on the ships surrounding the island, were also watching from a distance. When they saw Wang Ling crushing the system bracelet, their faces all changed, and they seemed very annoyed and unwilling. However, after more than a minute of continuous noise, an officer shouted again, "Give up the resistance and come with us." Obviously, they did not believe Wang Ling's words and wanted to take Wang Ling away for detailed investigation and search. But Wang Ling's face turned gloomy. "I don't want to embarrass you, but you embarrass me everywhere. Do you really think I dare not attack you? If you push me too hard, the fish will die and the net will be broken. It will be of no benefit to anyone." This sentence reached the helicopter and seemed to annoy the officers, who then shouted, "I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it, give up resistance, and come with us." 10. 9. 8. Finally, this step was reached. Wang Ling had already given in and did not attack directly. However, it was obvious that this group of people did not appreciate it and refused to believe the reality. Instead, they wanted to take action on Wang Ling. During the countdown, all the armed helicopters displayed their weapons and aimed at Wang Ling from a distance. They only waited for the countdown to end before they started firing rockets. There is nothing more sad than heartbreak. Listening to the countdown numbers, the light in front of Wang Ling's eyes seemed to be getting darker and darker. "Teacher, you want me to be a superhero, but in a world without hope, how can I be a hero?" At this moment, in grief, Wang Ling almost gave up hope in the world. He just waited for the countdown to end before he started taking action. Buzz buzz. Buzz buzz. Buzz buzz. However, just as the countdown reached 3, the sound of a large number of helicopters came from the distance. At the same time, there was a loud shout, "Stop it all! The countdown could no longer continue. All the helicopters confronting Wang Ling, together with Wang Ling, and even the onlookers' maritime forces, all looked to the east. I saw a dense number of armed helicopters appearing in the sky in this direction. The total number of armed helicopters totaled hundreds. The most important thing is that these armed helicopters are all from the same army, and the flags of country H are all engraved on the aircraft. At this critical moment, the troops of country H arrived. There were hundreds of armed helicopters. This momentum was so shocking that the troops of country M and country W did not dare to act rashly. They could only suppress their uneasiness and watch these helicopters. Including Wang Ling, they also gritted their teeth and were on guard. To be honest, even if he decided to fight against the entire world, he would not want to attack the H country troops. But at this juncture, the troops of country H also came to join in the fun. What should Wang Ling do? However, the development of the matter was somewhat beyond Wang Ling's expectation. While on alert, these helicopters from country H did not confront Wang Ling like the helicopters from country M, country W, country Y, and other forces. After flying over the island, these helicopters, hundreds of armed helicopters, actually released ropes downwards, and 10 soldiers quickly slid off each helicopter. In the end, thousands of soldiers landed on the island. This small island immediately became somewhat feeling crowded. These soldiers also behaved very strangely. Instead of being on guard against Wang Ling, 500 soldiers set up machine guns and artillery and deployed them on the periphery of the island, aiming their guns at the onlookers' maritime forces. The remaining 500 soldiers surrounded Wang Ling, setting up anti-aircraft guns and other anti-aircraft weapons, aiming at the helicopters of countries M, W, and other forces. What are you? Wang Ling was confused, but the personnel from country M, country W, and other forces were frightened and did not dare to act rashly. Ha ha ha, Wang Ling, I finally see you. While he was confused, hearty laughter came from the leading helicopter, and then the helicopter landed directly on the island, and a general walked out of the headquarters. After seeing this general, Wang Ling was immediately confused. General Li Wiki. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1082. The last chapter was accidentally blocked. It is guessed that the last forces that appeared were sensitive, so they were all replaced by letters. The ban was successfully lifted before this chapter was updated, fortunately. Isn't it? The general who came forward actually looked exactly like General Li Wiki from the Red Alert World. Not only do they look the same, but their names are actually the same. General Li Wiki was surprised when he heard Wang Ling's words, "You know me? How do you know my name?" This question brought Wang Ling back to his senses. This was not a Red Alert World. He immediately suppressed his excitement and explained, "I don't know you, but in the game world, my old leader looks exactly like you. Judging from your tone, I'm afraid even his name is the same." Really? Ha ha ha, this is better. We still have such a relationship emotionally. I wonder why I feel so kind when I see you. General Li Wiki was still smiling heartily. Looking at his friendly appearance, Wang Ling couldn't bear the slightest bit of hostility, but he still asked vigilantly, "General, are you here for the different dimensional system too?" But General Li Wiki asked back, "The different dimensional system? Isn't it damaged? If it's for the system, there is no need for us to come." "What's that for?" Wang Ling was confused. General Li Wiki raised his chin, "No, I'm not here just for you. For me." "That's right. Young man, are you willing to join the army?" "Join the army?" General Li Wiki's question disrupted Wang Ling's mood. The H country troops came not to arrest him, but they wanted to join the army. However, Wang Ling did not dare to agree directly. Instead, he asked, "Wait a minute, General, I still don't understand. What is going on? How do you know about the system damage? What is your attitude towards me?" General Li Wiki explained, "Actually, we have been paying attention to you for a long time, so long that you don't even know it. Do you remember last year when you personally destroyed a pickpocket gang?" "I remember, but how did you know? Who told you to do things uncleanly and expose your flaws?" "We received the report, followed the clues, and found that you are still very simple. After locking you at that time, the army has actually been divided into two groups. One group thinks that you are in some danger, so we should contact you as soon as possible. Recruit you into the army, observe and train you at the same time. But the other group headed by me believes that we should not easily interfere with your life, let you grow naturally, and observe your good and evil through life. As a result, we won, So your life is not affected at all, but it's actually all under our observation. Smiling, General Liwiki continued to explain, you haven't done anything for a long time. It's really difficult for us old guys to look at you with big eyes and small eyes. We don't know how to look at you. But I didn't expect that you wouldn't. Mings has become a blockbuster. He first rescued a little girl in the air on Mount Tai. Later, he directly destroyed a pirate organization and saved too many hostages. Your means of rescuing people are completely beyond our imagination. You know, so it troubled us for a long time. After discussion, we decided to continue observing and find out what skills you have and how you learn them. During the observation, after a long time, we suddenly lost our goal and were confused. At that time, I suddenly received a mysterious message, which contained all your information, location coordinates, and even real-time video images. Is this a message from Bai Ming? No, Bai Ming exposed the extra-dimensional system and deliberately put me under siege. He wouldn't expose my message in a wasteful way. Since it's not Bai Ming, who is it? Wang Lingzi asked his own question. General Liwiki explained, we guess that it should be Uncle He you are talking about, or the artificial intelligence brain of the system. At the beginning of the video, you are fighting against someone. We guess that it should be the real owner of the system. During the battle, you at a disadvantage and about to be killed, the artificial intelligence brain suddenly appeared. I don't need to go into details about what happened next, right? The video is still going on to this day. We have watched all the processes. I've arrived and I've all understood it. Uncle He. Yes, it must be Uncle He. Wang Ling's eyes lit up when he mentioned Uncle He, but while he was excited, his nose also felt a little sour. It turned out that Uncle He had known Bai Ming's trump card for a long time. Before he appeared, he had already kept a backup plan and informed the military department of Country H about Wang Ling's affairs, leaving a way out for Wang Ling. Unknowingly, Uncle He had done so many things for Wang Ling. General Liwiki continued to narrate, through the information in the news and subsequent observations, we probably understand what happened. Young man, you are young and promising. Solving the trouble of Bai Ming is simply a safeguard. The whole world can be called a great hero. Since you are a hero, you should be praised and protected. Therefore, after our discussion, we decided to recruit you into the army and use the strength of the entire army to ensure your safety. However, in the end, we have to go through your own consent is required, so are you willing to join the army? General, I do. Wang Ling's heart surged as he nodded repeatedly, his eyes even turning slightly red. Originally, he thought that there was no hope in this world, and his eyes were full of darkness, but the appearance of General Liwiki brought him a light that was enough to cut through the darkness. While lost, I finally saw the direction of hope. Ha ha ha, okay. From now on, you will be a soldier of our country H. We are fully responsible for your safety. I wonder who dares to touch you. General Liwiki smiled heartily when he received the reply. The words he blurted out were also very domineering. %UN hashtag. As soon as he finished saying these words, another shouting sound came from the helicopter of Country M. General Liwiki treated Wang Ling very kindly, but after hearing this, when he raised his head and looked at the M Country helicopter, his eyes suddenly changed, like a ferocious beast, and he spoke without mercy, what nonsense are you talking about? If you don't understand, speak human language to me. Wang Ling was stunned for a while. The people inside the helicopter seemed to be choked for a while. Soon after, a translator shouted, people from Country H, do you want to monopolize the system? Swallow your uncle. However, General Liwiki then started to curse, the system is ruined and no one can get it. How can you talk about it alone? Being scolded by this, the people in the helicopter were obviously very angry, and they started to chirp for a while. Finally, the translator shouted a more rational response, the system matters are of great importance. We cannot be careless. We must take this person away and conduct a strict investigation. I wonder who dares. As soon as he said he wanted to protect Wang Ling, he was provoked. This seemed to have touched the back of General Li Wiki, and his anger suddenly surged. How is the system damaged? I know better than you, so don't bother me here. Now, Wang Ling is a soldier of my country H, no one is allowed to touch him. Do you, country H, want to be isolated from the world just because of him? Do you want to challenge the whole world? The message was heard on the helicopter, and after a while of chirping, the interpreter responded with a threatening tone. But General Li Wiki refused to accept this trick. Isolated from the world? Who are you? You are used to being domineering. Do you think anyone can threaten you? The system has been destroyed. I don't need to lie to you about this, and I still want to take this matter. You are so messy, do you still want to show your face? I will put my words here today. Anyone who dares to touch Wang Ling is declaring war with me. If Wang Ling loses a hair today, none of you will be able to walk out of this place alive. Island. All combatants, prepare to fight. Click. 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 Under this order, the troops of country H, which had already been aiming at the helicopters in the air, were all at war with each other. Bullets were loaded, and the artillery shells were all aimed at the country M helicopters at the front, with the intention of opening fire directly if they disagreed. And under this strong approach, several forces that were originally aggressive became intimidated. After chattering for a long time, the translator never dared to shout anything more. However, they were too timid to retreat. Instead, they stayed in the air and confronted the H country troops. This scene is so lively. Several large forces were confronting each other, and the tense atmosphere was such that all the people on the surrounding pirate ships were frightened into silence. No one dared to be the leader, so they could only suppress it and wait and see what happens. Boom. Click. Click, click, click. But just when the atmosphere at the scene was getting more and more lively, something unexpected suddenly happened. A loud noise appeared above the island for no reason, attracting everyone's attention. When they looked up, they found that the space above seemed to be slammed by a heavy object. As if with a blow, a large area of space was like glass, cracking into dense gaps and gradually falling off, finally opening a black channel and gradually solidifying into an oval black vortex. This is. Everyone was shocked by this scene, and Wang Ling was even more frightened. Is this space being shattered? Is it possible that people in the fourth dimension really came to take revenge after they knew that Bai Ming had been killed? Whoosh! Just when everyone was frightened, a figure suddenly burst out of the black whirlpool and landed directly on the island at a speed that no one could react. Only when their eyes focused on him did they realize that this was actually a foreign guy. The image looks like he is slightly older than Wang Ling. Click. Click. Such a person suddenly appeared. It was not known whether he was an enemy or a friend. A large number of H country soldiers on the island quickly pointed their guns at this person and were on guard nervously. But before the man could make any move, another big man jumped out of the black vortex and kicked the foreign guy as he was falling in the air. Hey! Whoosh! But this young man suddenly dodged away as if he was teleporting, and then laughed in proficient Chinese. Silly man, if you say you can't do it, then you can't do it, and you're still trying to sneak attack. The big guy wasn't convinced either. Don't be blind, am I stupid? Comparing speed with you, a Freelander, and competing with me in strength. Bah! What a barbarian, with such a barbaric mind. These two people simply seemed like no one else was around. They didn't even care at all under the dense gunfire around them, but they could see that everyone around them was nervous. Wang Ling felt a sense of oppression from these two people. He couldn't help but frown and asked proactively, "Are you people from the fourth dimension? Four-dimensional space? I'm not that rubbish, The big man was stunned and waved his hand, seeming to be very disdainful of the four-dimensional space. Not a person from the fourth dimension? So who are they? At this moment, Wang Ling was confused. But unexpectedly, the big guy seemed to know Wang Ling and pointed at him from a distance and said, "Hey, are you Wang Ling? Come with us." Huh! Upon hearing this, Wang Ling's hands immediately glowed with lightning. From this tone, it seemed that the person who came was evil. "Brother Yuan, we are here for help, not for trouble." This is not the attitude of asking for help. However, before Wang Ling could respond, two more figures appeared in the black vortex. Arrived on the island. These two people seemed to be about the same age as Wang Ling, but their skills when they landed were extremely extraordinary, and Wang Ling actually felt a stronger sense of oppression from them. These two people are not simple. TCH. It's up to you to deal with this troublesome matter. The big guy was too lazy to say anything more, so he just crossed his arms and watched the show. The young man who had just spoken took a look at Wang Ling, while the people beside him looked around and said with a smile, "It's so lively. It seems that we have caught up with him when he needs help the most." "Who are you?" Wang Ling gritted his teeth and asked the question again. The young man who had just examined Wang Ling replied, "We are not enemies. Strictly speaking, we should be victims of the same type. My name is Guanzhenglin. The world I am in is also invaded by highly intelligent creatures in the four-dimensional space. It is very dangerous, so I came here specially looking for helpers. I hope you can join our camp and help us." Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1083. After a year and a half, the alternate dimensional Red Alert World is finally over. Here, I don't want to celebrate with flowers, because I feel really tired, but I just have something to say. Overall, I have been writing articles for 7 years, and have been involved in the online writing industry for 6 years. Although I dare not say how long it is certainly not short. Over the years, I have also grown up, and my mental journey has been very complicated. I have been wandering in confusion and hope. I have tasted sweetness, but most of it is bitter. I am very tired and narrow-minded. I am narrow-minded because of the environment of online writing and the limitations of online writing. The original internet writing was very free. Although many sensitive words were also prohibited from appearing, as long as the subject matter and plot were not too extreme, they were allowed to exist. But now it's no longer possible. Under various restrictions, I feel like I have a rope tied around my neck all the time, and I am coding as if my fingers have been broken off. I have no sense of security. To be honest, my luck was not very good. At the beginning of the series, Red Alert World encountered great changes in the online literary world, and a large number of books were blocked. Unfortunately, my first book, Zombie Overlord, was blocked. What's even more painful is that my other books are also restricted. When Red Alert World needs recommendations the most, old books can't recommend new chapters to new ones. Friends who have written online articles should all know how heavy this blow is. I update slowly, write willfully, and do not pay attention to accumulating readers. A series of reasons such as this have led to my low popularity. I admit all these, and I am stubborn anyway. However, this sudden change in the general environment seems to have knocked away my confidence. How can I be willing to do this? I thought this was already very painful, but I didn't expect that it would be even more painful. After one round of cleaning, the aftermath was not settled, and then a second round of more brutal sweeping began. My last book, Adventure Notes, also scanned. This book is more important to me than the first book, because this book is the best one I have written so far, and its original intention was copyright. When it was scanned, I even contact the publisher. Although there is little hope of publication, I am still working hard and there is still hope, but in this sweep, it is all gone. What was even more tiring was the stage of applying for unblocking. I couldn't even remember how many times I contacted the editor. According to the requirements he summarized, I checked and revised chapter by chapter for several months, but what I always received was the reason for refusing to unblock the reply is always that there are still illegal contents. It wasn't until the last time I contacted the editor that I was told that there was almost no hope of the book being unsealed. At that time, Red Alert World had just been serialized, so I was coding with this mentality. To be honest, I was very confused. But in the confusion, I didn't want to give up hope, and I still gritted my teeth and persisted until now. During this period, I rarely said my own words in the novels, but in fact I would log in to the writer assistant from time to time to look at the voting and reward records. I am very grateful to all my friends who voted and rewarded Red Alert World, and I am even more grateful for always after reading it all. Thank you very much to those friends who have been voting. To elaborate on the world of Red Alert, I am not the author who writes specifically about Red Alert. As for the violent soldier style that many readers have mentioned, I have never been exposed to it. This book can be said to have no reference or imitation except for games. Totally my own idea. The original intention was to strengthen and master skills in the Red Alert world and apply them to the real world to a large extent. But as you know, during that special period, the real world is really sensitive, so the length has been reduced as much as possible, but there are still 2 chapters. Blocked, still unable to unblock. So I rarely mention the real world later. When I was writing the ending battle, I hesitated for a long time, and the final decision was to omit it. This is a follow-up edition. If you can't see the 2 chapters of the finale, it may be that the trick has been blocked. Blocking is easy and difficult to unblock. I may not be able to unblock it in a short time, but I will try my best to modify and unblock it. And for those of you who have read the ending, do you have any old friends from Supernatural Abnormality? After reading the endings of the 2 articles, you should be able to tell that what I want to write is a series of articles that will take on several novels. The apocalyptic world of the corpse tyrant is not over yet. There will be another book in the future to continue the war. However, it is not just now. After Wan Ling, we still need a partner. Of course, the next book is not a novel in this series. The last book was abandoned, but as the book I most hoped to develop and the book I had high hopes for, I did not give up on it. The next book will also be an adventure book, but it needs to be written in a different way, with a different mentality, and to avoid all sensitive points as much as possible. There is not much rest time. After 2 days of rest, it is time to start saving and submitting manuscripts, which may also take some time. Friends who are not interested in reading, you can also take a look at Supernatural Hearings. See you soon for the new book. 469760074 Wolf Alliance Group Number, few people, inactive, please enter with caution.